Hello and welcome back to the Jules with Jim podcast. I am your host, GiGi, and I hope you're doing well. I just wanted to thank you all so much for the support, your love, your interest, and your questions. They definitely do go a long way. Whilst you are at it, I humbly ask you to hit that sub button to be notified when I do post new content for an in-depth understanding of astrology. Just another note to add too, if you do hear a dog barking in the background, my apologies. It seems that every time I find myself being inspired to record, that there's constantly a dog that's barking. Nonetheless, we keep it moving. I'm continuing my Breaking Down the Signs energy series, and I just have to say a disclaimer though, that the information I'm sharing with you is just to explain the energies, and that not everything is set in stone. I think of astrology as my cosmic parent, or rather my cosmic guide, and that you are able to work with the energies in order to achieve your current soul mission so that you can evolve into the next phase of life. And as I always say, the only constant is change. I cannot stress the importance of knowing your birth chart, as it acts as guidance for your soul's evolution, at least in my humble opinion and experience. Without any further ado, let's get down to it, shall we? I will start off by taking a look at some well-known South African Pisces, and they are Black Coffee, Julius Malema, Helen Zoe, Tito Mboweni, Tokyo Sehwale, Jack Barrow, and last but not least, Bridget Masinga. The Mutable Water sign Pisces, born between February 19th and March the 20th. You know, it makes so much sense for Pisces to be mutable, my bad, to be mutable sign, considering the fact that they just very often exist in two worlds. The world that is seen, of course, that would be, you know, our 3D everyday reality, and also the world that is not seen. So they are present, you know, in our physical reality, but I think most of the time in spirit and in thought, they just in another world completely. And, you know, oftentimes they are known as the dreamers, kind of present in the physical but absent in the spirit. I just think for the most part, Pisces energy is an enigma to some people, and oftentimes they're very aware of what's going on, and I think they much more aware of what's going on than the average person. But I think the struggle here is that they're not able to really articulate what's actually going on, how they're feeling, what they're being exposed to. Because they themselves are being exposed to thoughts, energies, vibrations that are sometimes not even their own. So this is also another aspect of theirs that can cause a lot of confusion. When I was writing my script out for Piscean energy, I was playing some Rum Gold. I hope I pronounced his name right. I don't know if it's Rum Gold or Rumo Gold. It seems like on different platforms his name is spelled differently. I have no idea why. But when I was writing about, you know, Pisces energy, I was listening to his song, Call It What You Want. And just to give you a context, the lyrics basically are: I don't know who I am. All I know is that I am yours. I don't want you to leave, but for you I'd open every door. They were tall, but now I see. It's 'cause I was on my knees. Beg and plead. Oh, you were the melody. I knew before I'd seen you came to me. I have better dreams when I can't sleep. Hard to find the words when we don't speak. I just love harder when you're mad at me. Dreams about our kiss after we'd fight. Think about the sun on our worst nights. I just see further with you in my sight. Call it what you want. And honestly, this is the exact nature and energy of Pisces. It's just very nebulous. It's muddy. One could even say that it's confusing, but it's always just all encompassing. It's just like you really have to allow yourself to be vulnerable. It is a complete dissolving of the ego to get really to the core and the soul. And of course, with Jupiter as, a co-ruler, it just further exaggerates these feelings and these themes. But before we go too deep, some basic facts about Pisces. Their polarity is negative. Their quality is mutable. Their element being water. The symbol for Pisces being the fish. Their planetary ruler is Neptune, and also co-ruler being Jupiter. Their opposite sign is Virgo, and parts of the body ruled by Pisces are the feet and apparently the hands, but I wasn't too sure about that, so I did not note that in, because I think it's different for everyone's perception of astrology is different. I think that's what makes it so fascinating. There is so much to say really about Pisces, and most of what I've heard has been so disheartening, so negative, and I think most people have akin Piscean energy as being naive, as being delusional, even being in dreamland or la la land as they like to call it. But first things first, let's take a look at their symbol, which is the fish. In many cultures, actually, the fish represents harmony, it represents peace, it represents wealth, abundance, and it can even indicate, a good marriage. If we take a further look into Christianity, the fish is also regarded as a sacred symbol of, Jesus Christ. And fish have been one of the most valued species in the world, historically, theologically, and even in mythology. So if we think about it, Jesus Christ, in essence, shared 2 fish and 1 loaf, if I'm not mistaken, with 5,000 people. And if we think about it, that story, we could analyze it, or that analogy rather, we could analyze it as maybe he shared wisdom with 5,000 people. We don't know for sure, at least not right now, not in this time. But looking again further into their symbol, it's 2 fish that are going in different directions. And this also symbolizes the nature of Pisces, because they're constantly in 2 different realities, the unseen and the seen, as I had mentioned before. Pisces are also referred to, as the chameleons of the zodiac as well. And, chameleons are associated with change. Same like, Gemini, which is also a nice thing to note, as Gemini also has the same energy, being that they're mutable and they're so adaptable and quite fluid, and also adept to change a lot. And like I said again, this is in alignment with Piscean energy because they're mutable, and the chameleon in spirituality denotes to sensitivity and clairvoyance and patience as well, if I'm not mistaken. But all of these are also characteristics of Pisces. Pisces are so patient to the point where, even if they're being shown the worst version of someone, they will still be adamant in seeing, the best or the good in that person. Then we also look at, Neptune, which is also a nebulous energy. It's also undefined. It's also without boundaries. It also has an element of, it being sacrificial. Wherever Pisces is, you're definitely going to find unconditional love. Of course, spirituality, and even in some, if not most cases, you'll find elements of escapism as well, which I'm going to delve deeper into. Jupiter also being a co-ruler of Pisces. Jupiter symbolizes luck, abundance, philosophy, expansion, and most of all, wisdom. So if we really think about it, if we really are being honest, we can actually say that Pisces is one of the most blessed zodiac signs. It's the last of the zodiac signs, meaning that, it is responsible for the 360-degree circulation of life, essentially, where we start from, the baby, which is Aries, all the way to Pisces, which one could even say that it's a broad understanding of life. And the only time you really have a broad understanding of life is when you reach your elderly age, right? And then you kind of morph into the next being, and then you carry out, you continue carrying out your soul's purpose. It's like you're currently in this dimension with the body that you have, but still you're carrying the soul. So eventually, your soul will leave this physical body to enter or morph into another being, essentially. And then you need to carry out another purpose, of course. So very complex energy that Pisces is, honestly. Pisces also rules the feet. Which is a bit of a contradiction, but I'll explain that, and I'll also explain the other side of why it's not a contradiction. But it is a contradiction at first glance, because feet are associated with grounding. You associate your feet with walking, and I mean that's what really keeps the body intact, keeps the body upright. So when we're talking about grounding oneself, when walking barefoot, and even when you're wearing shoes anyway, when you compare it to Piscean energy, like most Pisces are not even, the most grounded people. Like I said, a lot of the time they are in their head living out fantasies of how they feel life should be. And unfortunately here they are in this dimension, and they have to deal with the way things are and the harsh realities of life. A lot of the time I also feel that Pisces, they wish that they could live their life how they actually see it in their heads, instead of living life in the real world, or in the reality, or in the grand scheme of things. I mean, who is to say anyway that this reality is real? I mean, it's subjective to everyone. Everybody has their own way of looking at things, their own way of living, their own way of thinking, perceiving things. So who's to say that this is the real reality? Who's to tell Pisces that they living in dreamland, when who knows, we should actually be living in dreamland, but anyway, that is definitely a conversation for another day. But it also makes complete sense as to why Pisces would rule the feet, because essentially the feet absorb and hold all of the body parts together, which is what I mentioned earlier. They hold all the body parts together, and you're also upright when you think about it. So that makes sense in its entirety already, because Pisces is the last zodiac sign. So the feet are the last, parts of our bodies, but a very essential part of keeping the body functional for the most part, to do everyday things like walk and stand and, sit and jump and, all of those activities that we, most of the time take for granted. So, and the feet are also the most connected to the earth, the ground that we walk on. And, that's why it also feels amazing to walk on the floor bare feet, or even on, when you find yourself walking on grass, to just ground yourself, how amazing that feels. And I think it also makes sense that, Pisces would be ruled by the feet, especially when you're looking at it from an astrological point of view, because essentially it is the most connected to the earth, Mother Earth, if we will. So Mother Earth, in essence, needs us to be vulnerable to the connection, so that we can make a connection spiritually, right? So like I said, a lot of the things that is Piscean energy is very spiritual. I even find myself, struggling really to explain the energy, because it's nothing that can be explained really. It's something that can only be felt in all honesty. Pisces are also just in their heads, I think, and not because they want to, but I think it's a coping mechanism for them. If they're not in their head, then they might dabble into substances, drugs, alcohol, because a lot of them, they essentially don't want the feeling or the visions that they're having in their heads to end. They just want it to go on and on and on and on, for as long as it's possibly for as long as it's possible. So it's almost as though one can akin it to Pisces just wanting an everlasting high of amazing, seamless, and an almost perfect life, if I can just put it that way. Hence, in my opinion, I always feel as though Pisces are not really of this dimension. They're not of this world. They're not of this hell as some people perceive it. They should be out there somewhere in a heaven, in a paradise. Like I said, somewhere in an amazing paradise is where Pisces' true potential would really shine through, because I think that Pisces can, they can have a successful life here. They can be great, in any field, because they have the passion, they have the charisma, the humbleness, the dedication, the creativity to kind of carry out any task which is required of them in any career. And I think most of them would live their best lives if they are being true to their essence in Didn't realize that I had actually went silent there for a bit, but I am back. And I was saying that Pisces mostly, I think if they really want to live out their best lives, it's just important for them to just be true to their essence, true to what they love, really submit or submerge themselves into creative outlets and allow themselves to delve into their solitude and really have moments where they rejuvenate and where they can sort of reclaim their energy, because they absorb so much, especially in social contexts, in social environments. They absorb so much of people's energies. It's hard to distinguish which emotions or feelings or thoughts or visions are theirs and which are that of others. It's kind of like, where does one end and where does one start, especially when it comes to their own feelings, because like I said, they absorb so much. Some of the feelings are theirs, of course. I'm not saying that they completely are able to alienate their feelings from others. It's just that how do you know who to direct the energy to if you're getting messages from 50 different people at a time? It does get overwhelming, and so they should definitely honor their solitude when they do have the chance. And also another thing to note is that when they do live life being true to who they are and their essence, it helps them to have an endless connection to their higher selves, their true self, and the everlasting high of what life could be or what life really is about. So they need to have that connection to spirituality, that connection to their belief system, that connection to who they are, because it's so easy to get lost. The lines really are blurred when it comes to Neptune Piscean energy. I mean, if you think about it, if you think about the ocean, the ocean has so much depth and so much layers. I'm pretty sure if we were to go deep into the ocean, we'd see so many things that have yet to be discovered. Some may have been discovered and are probably kept under wraps, and others have not been discovered. And I think that's what one actually needs to take here. We need to remember that Piscean energy has no boundaries. It's literally a matter of how deep can you go, how far do you want to go. So you guys can imagine the depths and the thoughts and the visions and the feelings and the everything that Pisceans usually go through. But very interesting and complex energy. I'll keep on saying this until it comes out of my eyes, because it is so true. How do you explain something that is felt? How do you explain something that is felt but not seen? How do you do that? It's just you know, you have to feel it in order to know what it is that I'm referring to, what it is that I'm talking about. Pisces is also co-ruled by Jupiter, so of course the themes of Jupiter come into play here, and those themes of, you know, the higher mind, philosophy, spirituality, and religion. You know, Jupiter also rules the higher consciousness, so you definitely have a bird's eye view of the horizon, and you can kind of see the bigger picture. You can kind of see things that people below that horizon just can't see, and you kind of have to be the one standing at the top of the hill explaining to everybody else, you know, down there, explaining to them basically what's happening. And it's not even about, you know, looking down on other people. It's definitely not about that. It's just a matter of, you know, that's just one of their capabilities. It's just unfortunate that with this energy, not a lot of people take it that seriously. Unfortunately. So Jupiter also ruling, you know, extremes in a way, because with Jupiter, it expands everything. So it expands love, it expands higher consciousness, it expands values, it expands philosophies, it expands your beliefs in religion, spirituality, whatever it is. So you can only imagine that with having no boundaries, and then again having, you know, things exaggerated. It's like there's no bounds with the Pisces energy. It's really how far they're willing to take it with their beliefs, how far they're willing to take it with their spirituality, how far they're willing to take it with whatever they may be into at the time, how far they're willing to take it with their addictions, you know. And I think that's why a lot of Pisces in general struggle a lot with addictions, but we'll definitely get into that a bit later. So Jupiter being, you know, the other planet that rules over Pisces, one can understand how it's just easy to bite off more than you can chew. This is definitely the energy here with Pisces, with Neptune and, you know, Jupiter being both rulers of Pisces. We also have then their opposite sign, Virgo, which is more interested, you know, in the details of everything, being very analytical. They just thorough, they meticulous, and, you know, they go through everything and they observe all the facts, while Pisces is kind of, you know, more moved by how people, places, and things make them feel. So imagine that, you know, somebody who's Neptune dominant, Pisces dominant, walking into a house, they're looking for a home. They would, you know, pick a home based on how that home makes them feel, based on how the environment makes them feel, based on how the neighborhood makes them feel, based on how, you know, how amazing the real estate agent was, based on, so it's not really, you know, based on something that really is concrete or is factual. It's just the vibes. For them, it's more about the vibes. That's one thing to note. Whereas, you know, Virgo is very meticulous. They want the details. They want to know, okay, what is this area like? Is it, you know, filled with crime? You know, they base things on factual information that they can refer back to. Whereas for Pisces, it's more like, you know, if the vibe is right, then I'm going and flowing. Also, like I mentioned, they don't necessarily, you know, go through all the details. And I'm not saying that, you know, they just la-di-da about everything, but they've just already been given an indication by their physical body or by their physical senses, even including their sixth sense. So they don't really need any other validation. They don't need any other external validation to tell them whether or not this is the right move to make. So essentially, you know, life is kind of an enigma for Pisces. Pisces is an enigma to, you know, people around them, because they are aware that, you know, life doesn't have to be the way that it is currently. You know, and by this I just mean that we should, you know, be living in harmony. And they know this because they have access to other worlds where it's harmonious, apparently. It's full of wonders. Literally, it's full of magnificent things. I mean, if you were to ever listen to what goes on in a Pisces mind, and you just ask them what's going through your mind, I mean, you will be bewildered, almost, shook, flabbergasted by the amount of the wealth of information that you will actually come out of just by having a sit down with them. And like I said, it's because they have access to these different worlds. So it's just unfortunate, honestly. In this reality, Pisces, no matter how sincere they are, they always find themselves doing things for people they shouldn't be doing, especially when it comes to relationships of any kind, really, because obviously that's how you mostly engage with people. But a lot of people are vampires, energetically speaking, physically speaking, emotionally. So sure. Yeah. But I think they also exposed to this at a very young age, because when they're growing up, I think they hardly ever want to rock the boat. I think most of the time nobody really believes the things that they experience. I mean, if they were to go up to their mom or dad or their family members and be like, oh my gosh, I just saw the most beautiful looking creature, it had like 7 spots and had like 10 legs, and it was walking, and it was this tall. I mean, naturally people would not believe them, because society has not been exposed to that yet. So as we know, society only acknowledges things that have been put in front of them. If it has not been put in front of them, then they're not really going to note it as something that is, particularly bizarre and out of this world and amazing. So because of this, they find themselves wanting to be saviors in a way, or in some capacity, because it's not that they want to be saviors, it's that they call to. And I think it's also because of the fact that Pisces just know things. Sometimes they will hear about something, sometimes sometimes they will, and when I say hear, I don't mean like physically from somebody else. I just mean maybe they're clairaudient, and they just heard a voice come to them and tell them things that are gonna happen, or that have happened, or that are of particular importance to whatever it is that they're dealing with. And then when it's acknowledged in reality, then they're like, oh no, I knew that already, even though it had not been confirmed in that reality. It had already been confirmed, in the 5D reality. So they do try and protect people from things, whether it's their fault or not, whether it has anything to do with them or not. And this is how also they can become so drained, because they're doing things for people, and sometimes, not even sometimes, most of the times, these things that happen to people, or this information that they know about people, is not really things that they should be sharing with people anyway, because I mean, who wants to hear that, like, more times than not. So it's really, really hard, because they try to safeguard everyone from any harm or any ill, even if it means carrying the baggage of the other person. And I think that's where the line gets blurred. You kind of don't know where one individual starts and where one individual ends. That's why when they're in relationships, most of the time they get so intertwined with the energy of the other person, and they kind of forget who they are. Not that they forget who they are, but I think they focus so much on healing that person. They focus so much on wanting to show that other person a different reality, wanting to please that person, whether that be sexually, emotionally, physically, in whichever capacity would make the other individual elated or happy, that is what they do. Because remember, Pisces goes to the depths, so they already know what it is that you need to heal. And that's one of the beauties of, you know, Piscean energy. So yeah, it definitely does get tricky when you now start becoming so intertwined that you don't even know where your feelings start and where the other individual's feelings end. Because I have Venus in Pisces, and I find this happening a lot of the times. I'm so sensitive to a lot of things, especially when it comes to, you know, a partner that I'd be dating at the time. So I am able to pick up, you know, on their energy. I'm able, even if I'm not with them, I'm able to pick up on certain things. And sometimes I do tell them certain things, even though I know I should have probably kept it to myself, because now it's going to be a thing of I'm looking crazy or I'm looking insecure to them in the 3D reality, when in the 5D reality something has already been confirmed, and now I'm talking about it, whereas I shouldn't be talking about it. So I can feel if there's a slight change in my partner's, you know, emotional state. I can feel that, and when I confront that, the other person looks at me like I'm crazy and is in denial about that, because they don't want me to know. That's why they have not mentioned it. But fortunately for me, I'm given that access to be able to draw that out. And when I attempt to draw that out, the person is not appreciative of it, because they just don't want to deal with the emotions at that point in time. I of course don't know, but you know, I'm just assuming that that's what would be happening in their heads. I can only explain it from my point of view. But nonetheless, you know, we have to appreciate, we have to be appreciative, you know, of their amazing souls. They really don't deserve to be on this plane, at least this earthly plane. But I think for the most part, they are essentially here to show others that, hey, you know, it doesn't have to be like this. It could in fact be, you know, this way, and really expose humanity to a whole different reality, and potentially promoting growth for, you know, the rest of the souls on this earth that may be lost, but also maintaining a strong sense of self while doing it, I think, is the biggest challenge here. And I think the beauty of Pisces is also their ability to just dissolve the ego, really, and look within to see what it is that they really need to know. And you know, somehow the ego really is our downfall. I don't even want to lie. I think that might even be our devil. The ego makes us believe that we are lacking in some capacity, and that we have to seek things externally or even outside of ourselves. And you know, Pisces is aware of all that, and that is why all that they seek to do is just to look within. Let's debunk some facts and myths about a Pisces. So number one, they are not serious about life and just go with the flow. This is definitely facts, but I don't think, you know, we have to be rude about it. I don't think it's that they don't want to, but it's just that it's in their nature. Their nature doesn't allow them to be that way. They have to remain fluid. They have to remain flexible to receive the messages, the visions from the other world. So the other worlds kind of have more power than, you know, their conscious reality, because, you know, we're finding out so many things about the current reality that we are living in, and some of the things that we are being exposed to is things that Pisceans already know. So you know, fortunately for them, they constantly have that open line, that connection to other realities and things of that nature. Number two, they are extremely creative. This is definitely facts. They have an imagination that is out of this world, no pun intended. They do exceptionally well in the arts, you know, fashion, graphic design. Basically, any creative-centric career would really be ideal for them, I'd like to believe. Number three, they are most prone to addiction. This is definitely facts, because they want the easier parts of life to last longer. You know, the 12th house is associated with Pisces, and Pisces rules this house, and the 12th house is about the unconscious. So it's like for them, as long as they can remain in a certain state, they definitely will. The more a particular substance or action can prolong the feeling associated with a different reality, then that's the more they'll make use of it, which of course in this reality, leads to addiction problems. And, even if the addiction is harming them, it's just for them the thought of not facing what's going on in this 3D reality that they're willing to hold on to the drug because of the sensation, because of, not having to really be alive or not having to be present in this reality is what I think it's about. Number 4, Pisces can be naive. Facts, but I think what's naive to us is wise to others who know better. I think it's important that we remember that the ego makes us feel as though, the more we give, the less we will have. And I'm pretty sure we have come to realize that this is not the truth at all. Number 5, they are two-faced. This is definitely a myth. I think more than anything, they have such a broad understanding of what lies beneath the surface. I just want to keep it there. Otherwise, I can go on and on and on about the energy. Number 6, their love is unconditional. This is definitely facts. However, don't take it for granted, because when they do decide to listen to their intuition and detach, their love is definitely hard to come by. Number 7, music speaks to them. This is definitely facts. Again, literally, music is their language. Music is their love language. Their way to cope with anything and everything. There's definitely a special connection to music, as for them, it's as though they go through certain emotions with every beat. So it's like every beat, a new emotion is created, or it is a prolonged feeling to what they were feeling before. I know with myself, even I'll make an example with myself, I love to listen to music, especially a new song, and I like emotionally moving songs, like songs that really move me emotionally. I will probably repeat that song for the rest of the week. And there's a specific part in the song that I want to keep on repeating, because clearly I have not felt it, hard enough. It hasn't hit me hard enough. Number 8, Pisces loves being social. I'm going to go with myth. I think Pisces have to have their solitude, and they need to honor that. Because like I had mentioned before, they pick up on so much from the energies that they get in social settings. So, of course, however, this is not like, there's only so much that a fish can do out of water, if you know what I mean. So considering that the 12th house is a private house, it is the house of solitude, it's away from the world because they need to rejuvenate. I would definitely focus on doing that more than anything else. To end off, I really just want to say that I feel as though people, astrologers, sociologists, theologians, everyone really, historians, just want to give a boxed definition of Pisces or Neptunian energy. And I think they know very well that, they may be doing an injustice to this energy, as it's more felt than anything. How does one define something that has been felt but never seen? A certain quote even comes to mind, and I don't really know it verbatim, but it stayed with me throughout my entire life, and so don't quote me on it. It goes, "You may not remember what they said, but you won't forget how they made you feel." That just basically sums up Neptunian energy. I can't even say that, because I just feel like you just can't sum up Neptunian energy, because it goes through the depths. Like we are going to find another world. Definitely, we are going to find another reality when we delve deep into the waters of Neptune. But As I mentioned prior, a disclaimer that not every single Pisces will have these characteristics. So please be open-minded. As I always say, aspects do play a huge role in how the energies play out. I just want to end off by saying, water signs, we appreciate your ability to be intuitive, make the rest of us feel safe and understood. We appreciate your in-depth knowledge of things that are not seen by the rest of us. I hope I was able to break a Pisces energy all the way down for you. Next video will be about the fire signs. But anyway, do stay tuned for which one I will start with. On that note, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know in the comments down below where Pisces energy shows up for you and what I may have left out and what your thoughts about Pisces are. Show me some love and subscribe to my channel. Again, your time spent is much appreciated. Till next time, you know what you do. So keep doing what you do. Peace, love, and most of all, light. I'm out.